How's it hanging, you rascals? Thanks for tuning on in. Much appreciated. Hey, thanks for finding this channel. Subscribe here. And if you love the Tobin and Leroy radio program, got to a lot of, oh man, I got crushed today by the crew. The crew, the listeners, that was a rough one. If you guys want to go watch that clip, go check it out at The Ticket Miami on their YouTube page, youtube.com/TicketMiami. I will put it in the description here. I would love you guys to hop along. I know a lot of you consume that on this page. I got a new home for it there. I am in charge of all the editing, the posting on there. So everything that you loved at this channel, you will get at that channel as well. But we got some cool Heat news here on a Wednesday, a home day. As the Miami Heat, they have finally made an offseason move. It's been quiet. It's been too quiet. You know, it's been uncomfortably quiet. And, you know, look, they're obviously big game hunting. They're looking for the Kevin Durant deal, perhaps the Donovan Mitchell deal. We'll get into some interesting developments there later on in this video. But ever since signing Victor Oladipo, right as free agency started, and Dwayne Dedmon pretty much that same hour, losing PJ Tucker, who's out partying his ass off with James Harden, which I want to say, by the way, for the Heat fan who is mad at PJ Tucker and saying, oh, PJ Tucker is not Heat culture because he is partying his ass off with James Harden. One, look, PJ's got a ring, man. He's got his. Wanted him to get one with Miami, but like that guy played his ass off, and it does hurt. I'm not going to lie. You know, anybody picking the Sixers over the Heat, that does not make me feel fantastic in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, the guy played hard for the Miami Heat. He wants to party with James. I don't know what the hell was going on. So it was like the CEO of Fanatics or something like that, Michael Rubin. I never learned of this individual up until I saw every celebrity known to man. I guess it's good to know the guy who sells your stuff. So that was looked like a pretty crazy party. So Donovan Mitchell was there, among others, and so weird one. But PJ Tucker is off partying with the Sixers now. So a lot's been made of the Heat's glaring hole at the 4 spot. Who could possibly take that position? I think we look at the Heat, and right now, let's just say we're ribbed right now. We'll run it back. You got Lowry starting. I think they should go Tyler Hero starting at the 2. But of course, it could be Max Strus. Could go back to Duncan Robinson. You don't really know. This is kind of all the stuff that's up in the air. But who is going to be that starting big next to Bam? And that big may be small, just like PJ Tucker was. And that is Caleb Martin, who re-signs with the Miami Heat at the mid-level exception at $6.5 million basically per year. He is back 3 years, $20 or so million. So the Heat are able to use one of their exceptions. They are not hard capped. That was the big difference with the PJ Tucker deal, is that PJ Tucker wanted to get the full exception, which would have hard capped the Heat and limited flexibility. So they decided to go young. They decided to go youth. 27-year-old Caleb Martin, who I just, one of the cool stories of the season really was, like, it's hard in the grand scheme of all these things, right? Where it's like, oh, you're on orca mode and harpooning and all that type of stuff. But Caleb Martin, legitimately one of the best stories of the year, because, you know, Max Strus has been in the system. Still, I'm not, you know, Gabe Vincent, same thing. Caleb Martin was like out of nowhere, 2-way deal. And you're counting the days, and then the days get unlimited because they changed the COVID rules, because all the cases start burning up again, and then they got to find him to get him on a standard contract so he's eligible for the playoffs. But like, I remember back at the last preseason game, it was the last. I mean, it was somewhere in the preseason they were playing the Hornets, right? And his brother Cody Martin, more established in the NBA, recently signed a 4-year, $32 million deal. So a good weekend, a good week for the Martin family. But Cody was playing, and so they're like, oh, let's start Caleb against him. And you're like, oh, that's adorable. And you're waiting after the game, and you're waiting for Caleb Martin to talk about what that meant to him and how, you know, it was like, it's almost like a gimmick. It was a cute thing for Eric Spoelstra to do. And this guy made himself so playable, played his ass off, got after loose balls time after time after time. I think it was Max Strus who said it best, where it's like, how do you not love having a Caleb Martin on your team?
Yeah, how can you not like Caleb Martin? The dude just plays extremely hard, no matter what the circumstances. Every night he's locked in. gets loose balls, 50-50 balls, offensive rebounds. He's always locked in and plays extremely hard. And how do you not want a guy on your team like that and somebody who's there every night to do that?
Just becomes an absolute demon on defense, huge on the wing, unbelievably athletic. The dude was like, throwing down poster dunks left and right, was just, Derrick Jones Jr.-esque in some of his dunks. Like it was really, really crazy to see the explosiveness that this guy was bringing to the table. And you're thinking to yourself, nobody wanted this guy? This guy was just there. He was just out there to have. Like there's a genetic clone of him in Charlotte that everybody seems to rave about. And this guy, it's funny enough, I think he said something to the effect this year of like he was not known for his defense, and that's really what brought him to the table. Was just tremendous in every way, shape, or form with what he brought the Miami Heat this year in his energy, and it was needed. We saw the injuries that they had this year, and needed games and needed production from all types of guys on this roster. And this year, went from a guy who shot 25% from three the year beforehand to shoot 41% from downtown. Really made himself a threat at almost 3 attempts a game, and just had himself a real air of confidence in some of these games. Like you would watch some of these games, and he really, really got rolling.
I want to be here. You know what I mean? I've got better here, and I believe I'll get better here. Obviously, I want the situation I just want a great situation no matter what. But I just think that how close I've gotten with the guys and the people here, and how much better and more confident I've been here. And I feel like my team and my staff believes in me and believes that I'm going to get better here. So obviously, being open-minded is going to free agency. Like have to be, and it's my first experience with that. But I want to be here. I love being here. I want to be here. So that's all I got on my mind right now until I see what happens or whatever type of experience I'm going to get in free agency. So.
This was a good move for Miami. I love bringing back Caleb Martin. I just thought that the guy, Red Bull, the energy, all that he was able to bring to the table this year, I thought it was great. I thought I'm happy with it. It certainly isn't the big splash that everybody has been waiting for, but I think the Heat fan did want a little bit of action that was going forth. We had Nikola Jovic having a big time summer league game. There's just been no movement on this Kevin Durant stuff, and now maybe it seems like they are going to run it back, or they are going to bring Kevin Durant back. I don't know. I think a lot of this seems like posturing right now. That is going to be so that's an interesting dynamic that they have to wait out for, is that you want the Miami Heat to be in the game for all these big time players, but you have to go and see what the negotiations are. What are the Phoenix Suns going to have? What do they have for what are they going to have DeAndre Ayton to trade? Seems like that's the number one spot he wants to go to, but what if that all blows up in his face and then the Miami Heat become, the place that he wants to go to, and Riley is only willing to go certain places for leverage? I don't know. I do think that a deal like this is an unprecedented type of player in an unprecedented situation, and not on top of the fact that a crazy deal went down with Rudy Gobert and all the compensation they got. So you get it from Brooklyn. Brooklyn's petty. Like, Brooklyn is in this spot right now where Brooklyn is already getting it, laughed at. You gave your franchise over to these guys, and look what happened to you. You embarrassed you. They completely took a whiz on your organization. I think that he'd have to have some level of patience here, because ultimately, I do think it's almost turning into like a Ben Simmons Philadelphia situation. But I think the big difference here is I don't really believe Kevin Durant would go. Now, Kyrie's one situation, but I don't believe Kevin Durant would go into a year and not play basketball for the Brooklyn Nets. Like, I don't think he has that in him. I think people question Kevin Durant's heart, whatever, but I think the guy really loves playing basketball. I don't see a situation where he's going to really not play for the Brooklyn Nets if it gets to season time. But obviously, these situations, you prefer that they would be resolved by the time the year starts. And I think for the Heat standpoint, we kind of dealt with this with the James Harden thing, especially guys like Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, with the trade rumors that they had to go through, and people won't cry for them, but like they already have been through this. Tyler Hero is a black belt in trade rumors. Duncan Robinson is maybe got his final session coming up, and he's about to get his black belt in a ceremony. So with these guys going into the year, you do want to have some clarity, and he did eventually get to a situation where they're just like, listen, we're not in any James Harden talks. We want to move on. I don't think that time is now, but I do think in training camp they will get to a point where it's like, listen, we aren't going to do that. And there was a report from Barry Jackson about Kyle Lowry, where they assured Kyle Lowry, we're not giving you up for Kyrie Irving. Look, I don't agree with that. Like, I think that if you had an opportunity to get younger at the point guard position, even with everything Kyrie brings to the table, I think that would have been a move I would have been willing for the Heat to take a risk on, especially with him on a 1-year deal. But they do like putting that clarity out there for these guys. And so you think of Kyle. Kyle's 37, so he's 36, 37. So he's been in trade rumors before. He dealt with all that the year beforehand in Toronto. But I think for Tyler, you certainly don't want to put that hanging over his head the entire season again. Same thing with Duncan Robinson. But the Tyler thing is going to be an interesting one because it's kind of the last big piece of the offseason. If it was just with this roster, the last really big piece is, well, what's going to happen with Tyler's extension? What are they going to do there? So that's an interesting wrinkle into all of this of that, okay, Caleb Martin's back, business taken care of. Victor Oladipo back, Dave Dedmon back, PJ Tucker left. UD obviously going to come back at some point for a 20th season. So all of the pieces, the really last piece is what's going to happen with Tyler and his extension and everything that goes on with that. So that's an interesting thing that I'm sure Tyler would want some resolve on. And meanwhile, the Heat are sitting here and they're maybe in the game for Kevin Durant. Maybe there's a game for Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell today is out here subtweeting, doing the thing you do when you want to make, like Tyler did this the other day with his with the Future lyrics, where he's just like, it's all about family or whatever the hell. I forgot what and Donovan Mitchell today is tweeting out, build you up to tear you down. Don't know if it's a lyric. Let's just go with it on its face value. Referring to a teardown that's happening in Utah. There was a report today from ESPN that he had gone to the organization and the powers that be there and basically had said, hey, what are we doing here? Are we gonna, is this for the best of the franchise? And what are we doing with the moves here? And they're all telling him, oh, no, it's for the best of the franchise. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how much that sticks. I think that with Donovan Mitchell, this is going to be the interesting dynamic of them having Dwayne Wade in ownership. Is that, does the ownership go to D Wade and say, hey, like, you talk to Donovan about what the whole picture is? Because he doesn't know Danny Ainge. He doesn't really have a relationship. I don't know what his relationship is with the new owner, but he has a relationship with D Wade. Then the interesting thing becomes, okay, you're Dwayne Wade. You're in this ownership spot of the Utah Jazz, and you also are like one of the faces of player empowerment. Like, you are one of the faces of, hey, we all came together, big three, did the damn thing and kind of flipped the league on its head. Would you tell Donovan Mitchell not to do that? Or would you tell Donovan Mitchell to sit tight? Or would you tell him to go with your gut? That's always been the thing with the D Wade element, where Jazz people are like, oh, well, we should have brought in D. I can't picture D Wade ever telling anybody what to do with their life and their business, just simply because that's just never been his thing. Didn't do it with LeBron. Didn't do it with anybody on the Heat's roster. Like, he has always been about players should be about their business. We talk about the life stuff, and we handle all of that. And I think that this is an interesting thing to still keep an eye on with Utah, because maybe Donovan Mitchell does get to the point where he is absolutely fed up. So, for the Heat standpoint, it's been a quiet run so far in the off season, but I do like the idea of bringing this bench core back, if you will, keeping the depth was an important element to this Heat team, especially in the regular season. Jimmy Butler's going to probably miss some games. I mean, that's just really the point. Like, Jimmy Butler, usually in the regular season, is going to miss some time because you want him 110% ready for the postseason. So if there's a nagging back, if there's a nagging ankle, if there is something that's not feeling quite right, you do need that depth there. And I think that he probably know that with having an older point guard, a Jimmy Butler who is in still the right prime of his career, but is always a guy in the regular season that will take his games to make sure that he is at optimal level for the postseason. And so I think Caleb Martin's a nice return for the Miami Heat. I think it's a fun bring back. Thought he showed a lot of stuff this year. A hell of a story. And I was happy to see that he came back on a 3-year deal.